Visibility 1/4. Fog. Indefinite ceiling 300.
I'm so excited to share this video with you. You're about to see an IFR approach in ultra-low visibility conditions in fog. Now, a disclaimer. This video is neither instruction nor an endorsement for you to attempt this. Legal does not always mean safe. Consult your instructor. I brought together many different video sources to put this video together. There's an outside view under the left wing, there's a cockpit view, there's a G1000 instruments view. I recorded my iPad screen to show the ForeFlight Synthetic Vision and a Geo-Ref approach plate snippet all the way on the left there. Now, with all those in mind, here's some interesting things to watch for. You should compare the synthetic vision to the G1000 display and see how well they resemble each other. The localizer and glide slope appear, and when they do, watch how well or poorly I track them during this approach. So listen for when I declare I have the ground in sight, when I declare lights, meaning that I have the approach lights in sight, even though the camera might not show them right away. And listen for the aircraft call-out minimums. So let's pick up the flight where it gets interesting, where I intercept the final approach course. Now, for those of you who like the full raw footage, please enjoy the highlights and commentary that I put together next, and then you'll find the full uncut flight immediately afterwards.
Diamond Star 9 Delta Sierra, 6 miles from Osmix. Turn right heading 340. Maintain 3000 until established on the localizer. Cleared ILS, runway 36 approach.
Right 340, 3000 until established, cleared ILS, runway 36 approach. Diamond Star 5600 Delta Sierra.
Endeavour 3402, Madison approach. Expect vectors, ILS runway 36 approach. Runway 36 RVR more than 6,000, but the rollout is 1,600. Diamond Star 9 Delta Sierra, runway 36 RVR now more than 6,000, but the rollout is 1,800. Contact Tower 119.3.
Tower 93, good day, 9 Delta Sierra. Madison Tower, Diamond Star 5600 Delta Sierra, 3 miles from Osmix.
Diamond 569 Delta Sierra, Madison Tower, wind calm, runway 36 RVR, 6,500, touchdown, 3,000 midpoint, 2,000 rollout, runway 36, clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 36, Diamond Star 5600 Delta Sierra. $500 to go. $400 to go. $300 to go. $200 to minimums. $100 to minimums. We have the ground. Lights.
Minimums. Minimums.
And runway in sight. Full flaps. Green down lock, prop full forward.
Did you catch what happened? If you thought I flew the approach really well, then maybe you should take another look. Let's have another look at what happens to the glide slope And let's play it in slow motion, starting from when I catch sight of the ground. Now I must split my attention between searching for the approach lights and maintaining a stabilized approach down to minimums. And you'll see me go back and forth between scouring outside the airplane for the approach lights and looking back at the instruments. So at this point, I notice I'm about to hit minimums a little early since I'm a tad low on the glide slope. So in general, it's not bad to be less than 1 dot below the center of the glide slope, but in ultra low visibility conditions like this can mean that you have no chance of seeing the approach lights before having to execute a missed approach. And I would much rather be a hair too high in this kind of situation than a hair too low. So I think, why not just level off right here for a second until the glide slope is centered and then continue down the glide path. So the problem with that idea is that this destabilizes the approach, especially towards the end of the approach, when the glide slope is extremely sensitive and we're close to the runway. So chasing ultra-sensitive needles at the end of the approach isn't easy. And compounding the issue is the split focus I have now between looking outside for the approach lights and scanning the instruments. So I start to level off, and things seem fine at first. However, look how rapidly the needle starts to move as the approach begins to destabilize. Thankfully, I was able to see the approach lights before the glide slope got too far deflected. Another thing worthy of mentioning here is the approach lights are on low intensity. I should have requested them to be set at high intensity so that I could actually see the lights through the fog, which is something that I had experienced before, and it was really cool to see the lights blaring at you through the fog before you could actually even see the ground. So everything ended up working out all right this time. But if we're not careful as pilots, we can become complacent, or we can reinforce bad decisions because a previous flight went the way we expected and thought it would, and we don't stop to learn what we could have done better. So taking a step back, not everything went bad about this approach. My communication with air traffic control went really well. I tracked the localizer throughout the entire final approach segment. When I made corrections to my flight path, they were small and smooth and not large and jerky. The transition from instrument flying to landing the airplane went really well. I even did a final last-minute landing checklist run-through after I got the runway in sight. I hope you got as much out of this as I did. And it's important to debrief your flights so that you have an idea of what you did wrong, what you did well, what you can improve, what you can learn. So let's talk about RVR real quick. In case you didn't know, RVR stands for Runway Visual Range. There's ground-based stations that are meant to measure visibility at multiple points along the runway. The controllers sure seem to be preoccupied in this flight with giving us updates on the RVR conditions simply because the visibility is so low. They seem more applicable to airline pilots or Part 135 operators, where RVR generally governs which approaches they can and cannot attempt. The minimum section dictates the lowest visibility authorized to conduct the approach. But interestingly enough, for Part 91 GA pilots, we can attempt approaches regardless of the visibility, even in zero visibility conditions. But we still must follow the regulations regarding the list of what we must have in sight in order to descend below the minimums and proceed to land. The RVR measurements may be inaccurate, and better visibility conditions might prevail, or worse, the visibility could render the approach useless or even downright dangerous if you aren't proficient on missed approach procedures. The FAA Legal Counsel has determined that flight visibility does not equal ground visibility. This means that the only visibility measurement that essentially matters is what you see when you look out your cockpit window. You're not breaking a regulation if you land in visibility conditions where the ground station reported the visibility lower than the approach plate. But you must have had the identifiers visible of the runway or the runway environment or the approach lights in order to conduct your landing safely according to regulations. So you might think all this talk about RVR and regulations is nonsense and it will rarely ever apply to you as a GA pilot. But I also kind of thought that it's good to know the regulations, but when will it ever really affect me in real life? Recently, I experienced on a single flight 2 very applicable examples of when this comes into play. First of all, I was on an ILS approach to the Racine, Wisconsin airport. The airport was reporting a 1/4 mile visibility and the vertical visibility of, I think it was 100 or 200 feet. And at first I expected that I would probably have to go missed. But when I activated the pilot controlled lighting, I was 8 miles out, and I was shocked to see in the distance the approach lights come to life. And now, what the heck is going on? I was just trying to figure out how I could possibly see that when the ground station was reporting quarter-mile visibility. But what was happening as I approached the airport and found out was that a thick patch of fog had placed itself right on over most of the airport, but not the approach lights to the runway. So the approach and landing were actually quite easy. But afterwards it was hard for me to taxi around because towards the terminal part of the airport, the fog was actually quite thick. On my way home from racing, I found my second surprising example, and I was overflying the approach corridor to Milwaukee General Mitchell Airport. I overheard the airliners in a conversation with air traffic control discussing what to do about their approach. And I thought it was interesting because I could look down and see the runway. The airliners could see the runway too, and the controller was denying them a visual approach because their procedures prevented them from clearing an aircraft for a visual approach when the RVR was 1200. So due to these regulations, that got in the way of them conducting their flight in what you might understand to be a safe manner. So the moral of these stories is that RVR is not always accurate, and you should keep that in mind whenever you're considering your options, and also when you consider the possible outcomes of your flight. I also can't forget to mention, especially when we're talking about shooting approaches near minimums, don't forget to practice missed approaches. It's way more important than you think. If you aren't practicing them, you won't be prepared and you can easily fall behind the airplane. If you get startled or preoccupied with what comes next, you weren't expecting to fly the missed approach and now you're kind of frazzled a little bit. Don't stall the airplane. It's very easy to lose sight of your airspeed and forget about it. Fly the airplane, first and foremost. Keep your priorities straight. Aviate, navigate, communicate. Keep them in that order. Let's take a step back and remember that safety always comes first. We should never let anything such as external forces cloud our judgment and lead us to make bad or unsafe decisions. And with much power comes much responsibility. Don't be a statistic. Fly safe. Now, here's the uncut version of the flight. Enjoy.
Madison Airport information, Oscar 1153 Zulu, wind 360 at 3, visibility 1/4, fog, indefinite ceiling 300, temperature 17, dew point 17, altimeter 299.6. Remark surface visibility 1/2. ILS runway 36 approach in use.
Madison clearance, Temperature 5600 Delta Sierra, IFR to Madison, and like to do an ILS 36 approach.
Star 900 Delta Sierra, cleared to the Madison Airport as filed, maintain via radar vectors, maintain 3000. Departure is 120.1 and squawk 5326.
Cleared to Madison via radar vectors, maintain 3000, departure 120.1, squawk 5326, Diamond Star 5600 Delta Sierra.
Diamond Star 900 Delta Sierra, the readback is correct. It's clearing up a little bit, very little bit, I guess. Our last basis report were fog on the ground, tops 1600.
Thank you. Madison Tower, Diamond Star 5600 Delta Sierra, at 32 at hotel, ready for departure.
Diamond 569 Delta Sierra, Madison Tower, fly runway heading, runway 32, clear for takeoff.
Runway heading, runway 32, clear for takeoff, Diamond Star 5600 Delta Sierra. Speeds alive. 40 knots. 59 rotate. Positive right, flaps up, gear up.
I'm a 9 Delta Sierra, turn right, heading 090, contact departure.
Right, 090, contact departure, 5600 Delta Sierra. Madison departure, Diamond Star 5600 Delta Sierra, 1800, climbing 3000, sign heading 090.
Diamond Star 5600 Delta Sierra, Madison departure, radar contact. You looking for something or your practice approaches?
We're going to do an ILS 36 to a full stop, and then we might do another, but we'll probably just call it a day after one.
Diamond Star 5600 Delta Sierra, roger.
Altitude.
ILS runway 36, pound approach course.
Expect ILS runway 36, standard Delta Sierra.
Diamond Star 9 Delta Sierra, turn right, heading 140.
Right, 140, 9 Delta Sierra.
Trim in motion.
Envoy 4621, 10 miles from Oz, mixed turn right heading 340, descend and maintain 3000 till steps on localizer, cleared ILS runway 36 approach.
Alright, 340 to intercept, 3000 till established, we're cleared the ILS runway 36 approach, Envoy 4061.
Let's brief the approach. That's selected on here, select approach, Madison ILS, oops, that out. Madison ILS 36, vectors, bare minimums on. This knob is being a little troublemaker. And 60 is 2 feet off, but that'll be fine. We're going to activate that. Let's activate approach. Alright, I put 110.10 in the localizer. Looks like they're going to turn us right to go ahead, heading to south soon.
Departure, good morning, Challenger 796 Alpha Charlie, 2.5 for 5000 in the right turn, 040 sign.
Challenger 796 Alpha Charlie, Madison departure, radar contact, turn right direct Albany, climb and maintain 10,000.
Right turn directly to Albany up to 10,000, 796 Alpha Charlie.
Chart is current. 110.1, approach course 005, it's already dialed in. Point landing is 8005. This is the ILS localizer.
Envoy
3B
4061,
approach.
contact tower
ILS localizer 3B
119.3.
approach. This is the
93, Envoy 4061. Have a good day. See you.
This is the ILS runway 36 approach. You can see us geo-referenced on that plate down there. Down to the minimum section. We got 1062 for minimums, 2400 RVR with go down to 1800 with the use of an autopilot. The RVR last reported was 2600.
Delta Sierra, turn right heading 180.
Right 180, Diamond Star 5600 Delta Sierra. Absolutely beautiful sight this morning.
Challenger 6 Alpha Charlie, contact Chicago Center 133.3.
Chicago Center 133.3. Good morning.
Morning.
The missed approach is 27 straight ahead. The Madison R radio 359 off their VOR, but I would expect vectors in that case. Nonetheless, 2700 straight ahead. RVR is varying between 2600 and beyond 6,000 feet. Approaching COM 1, tower on standby COM 1, ground in COM 2. The landing checklist, fuel pump, carb heat, gas fills tank, undercarriage down and welded. Mixture, we'll put that full forward. Prop, we'll get that full forward towards the end. Seatbelts, lights, and airport lights. We'll turn on the landing light when we're cleared to land.
Diamond Star 9 Delta Sierra, the runway 36 RVR is 4,000. Turn right heading 250.
Right 250, 9 Delta Sierra.
Diamond Star 9 Delta Sierra, turn right heading 290.
Right 290, 9 Delta Sierra.
Diamond Star 9 Delta Sierra, 6 miles from Osmix. Turn right heading 340. Maintain 3000 until established on the localizer. Cleared ILS, runway 36 approach.
Right 340, 3000 until established, cleared ILS, runway 36 approach. Diamond Star 5600 Delta Sierra. Needle starts to move, we'll disengage autopilot and call it a day.
Autopilot.
Endeavour 3402, Madison approach. Expect vectors, ILS runway 36 approach. Runway 36 RVR more than 6,000, but the rollout is 1,600.
Alright, 1 notch of flaps.
Diamond Star 9 Delta Sierra, runway 36 RVR now more than 6,000, but the rollout is 1,800. Contact Tower 119.3.
Tower 93, good day, 9 Delta Sierra. Madison Tower, Diamond Star 5600 Delta Sierra, 3 miles from Osmix.
Diamond 569 Delta Sierra, Madison Tower, wind calm, runway 36 RVR 6,500, touchdown 3,000 midpoint, 2,000 rollout, runway 36 clear to land.
Clear to land, runway 36, Diamond Star 5600 Delta Sierra. Alright, we got the glide slope.
Leaving altitude.
Oh, another layer. That's interesting. Minimums are 1060. Missed approach procedure is 2700 straight ahead. Missed approach procedure is 2700 straight ahead. $500 to go. $400 to go. $300 to go. $200 to minimums. $100 to minimums. We have the ground. Lights.
Minimums. Minimums.
And runway in sight. Full flaps. Green down lock, prop full forward. Tower 9 Delta Sierra going to the south ramp.
9 Delta Sierra, roger. Turn right on Charlie and advise once you're off the runway.
Right on Charlie, advise when off the runway, 9 Delta Sierra. Do we have someone behind us?
Not yet.
Thank you. Tower 9 Delta Sierra is clear of the active on Charlie.
9 Delta Sierra, contact ground point 9er.
Contact ground point 9er, 9 Delta Sierra. Madison ground, Diamond Star 56, 9 Delta Sierra, clear of 36 on Charlie, taxi south ramp.
Diamond Star 56, 9 Delta Sierra, Madison ground, taxi south ramp via Charlie Bravo Delta, cross runway 3 at Charlie, advise turning right on the Bravo.
Charlie Bravo Delta, cross 3 at Charlie, and I missed the last part for 9 Delta Sierra.
Advise established on Bravo.
We'll advise and establish on Bravo, 9 Delta Sierra.
Conquest 25 number, safe position.
Right next to Bravo 5.
Roger, thank you.
Delta Sierra, established on Bravo.
9 Delta Sierra, roger. Advise established on the south ramp. Good day.
Have a good day. There's just no way that that was like 2,000, like, there's no way the RVR was like 6,500 there. The rollout was the most valid one.
Whatever, you can let tower know when you're holding short to 36 critical area.
We'll do 25 over, thanks so.
Yep, good day.
There was just, that was really, really low. That was much lower than I thought it would be, and they made it seem like it was super easy and like a lot of visibility, but it actually was extremely low. So that's a lesson learned, is that sometimes you can't even trust those somewhat promising RVR values. You just got to fly it and expect plan for the worst and hope for the best.